Hey guys, Stealth here. I wanted to show you some test footage I made of the Patriot. I just created a very simple deck for the AI consisting of only recon units, a couple of different planes, and I gave myself a longbow and a Patriot. Now the longbow is here to make sure that the enemy sees something and that is something to fire at. Now I also have the enemy AI with some recon so they have so they can see targets for their planes. Put my Patriot in the middle of the map, and as you can see before we begin, a Patriot does not have a range against helicopters. It has a terrific range against airplanes, but not against helicopters, so make sure that these things don't get attacked by helos, because they won't be able to shoot back at them. Now we have our first volunteers coming in now. Patriot sees them. Extreme range. 5.6 kilometers this. Now keep in mind those planes do keep coming. I hit one. And the damage on it is tremendous. I knocked it down to 1 point of health. And these SUs have 10 points of strength, so with a 9 HE damage, this is 9 times out of 10 going to happen. But if you have some spogs near your Patriot, you can actually take down that plane pretty easily without firing too many missiles. My Patriot now fired one. It's loading the second missile. Fired another one, missed. You can see it trailing off here. Fired another missile. Took out the aircraft. So he fired three by now and hit one. Sorry, hit two of them. And this last one is gonna get away. Now of course the Patriot is trying to contend with the ECM, which is 40% on those Su-27s. But for 70% accuracy I was a bit surprised that it would only hit 1 or 2 out of 4. I was expecting a little better result. Now time to fill this thing up again. And I was wondering how many supplies this thing would take. So I call in a Chinook, 2500 liters of supplies on that. Of course the AI immediately responds by trying to take out my Chinook. Fortunately he makes it out alive. Okay, here we go. When he starts, the Chinook has 2500 liters of supplies. This Patriot has taken some damage, possibly from the jet shooting at this Chipper Chinook. And he's completely out of missiles and he needs a couple of points of fuel. Now see what happens. Patriot's getting rearmed, repaired and refueled. And this thing is draining supplies like crazy. Speed it up a little. But now he spent 700 points of supplies. And I only have 2 out of 4 missiles. Patriot is rearmed, 4 out of 4 missiles. This thing has spent half of its supplies. So a rough average is that one missile takes you about 300 points of supplies, which means that this anti-aircraft battery, as good as it may be, will drain you of resources very quickly. Now you can bring in, depending on the kind of deck you have, 2 at a lower veterancy or 1 at higher. This is my veteran Patriot. But still, these things will really dig into your supplies. So either make sure you have a lot of Super Chinooks or the CH-53s to keep these things supplied. Because trucks are just gonna be empty in a couple seconds. Now I wanted to give the AI some other targets to shoot at, to bring out some other planes with different ECM values, so I brought in a Humvee. I knew that my earlier longbow was going to call in jets, because that's their standard response, and it's the only response they have. A ground vehicle such as a Humvee will call in bombers, multi-rolls and the likes. So I'm just having this thing drive around a little, trying to provoke their aircraft into coming after me. because I want to see how much damage this thing can do against bombers. Here we have the H5s. These are the new aircraft. They've been added in the DLC. Do not mess with these things. They carry a 3,000 kilogram bomb. They also have a 15-point strength, 0 ECM, so they should be decent targets for my Patriots. Let's see what happens. They're coming in at a speed of 750. My Patriot's now acquiring and fired. Just look at the range of that thing. All the way from here in the middle of the map to a little to the west of Delta. Missile hits. Of course this thing doesn't die straight away, since it can still be airborne due to its 15-point strength. Patriot immediately fires another one. That's the high rate of fire of these things. Kills one. No splash damage, apparently. This thing only got worried because the other aircraft died. But they weren't close enough. Patriot fires another. It hits. And it fires a third or fourth one. It's now reloading again. And as you can see, this time it hit 3 out of 4, which is a better result. It might have been bad RNG last time. You can see just how quickly this Patriot reloads, because he had to take on supplies from the Super Chinook. He has already taken on one missile, and he is already acquiring this Q511, which is coming in from the left. But it seems he's still loading, which still is very, very fast. Unfortunately he missed. Speed it up a little. I bring in another Super Chinook. Now this thing fired a couple of missiles. It fired 4 at those initial 2 MiGs, and now it fired 4 at those 2 H-29s and 1 other at the Q511. It has 3 out of 4 missiles left, so you can get about 9 shots out of one Super Chinook. So 2500 liters is 9 shots. But again, as you can see, the Patriot cannot engage these helicopters. It also doesn't help that they're very close to the ground and I wasn't really able to see them. Here we have another Su-27K, sorry, Su-27SK. It comes in and the Patriot misses. That thing was coming after my Chinook again. So this seems to be a little bit of a hit or miss solution. And the only thing that really impressed me so far is the extreme range of this thing. The accuracy, although supposedly 70%, doesn't really seem to live up to that. And the rate at which this thing eats supplies is a bit worrying. If you were to use these things in 10v10s, you're going to have to micromanage them. They're going to take up a lot of supplies, a lot of attention, and you're going to have to move them after every shot because they're going to be the main target of anything. The good news though is that they, with their 5.6 kilometer range, can outrange any seed unit. So they have that going for them. But the rate at which they'll be taking up supplies means that I probably won't be using these too much. Took another Q511. He managed to fire 2. This thing went down here. And just look at how far that thing's still away. I doubt that anything could live long enough with the rate of the fire of the Patriot to come close to it and fire either a seed missile, an ATGM, bombs. Strafing runs are completely out of the question, of course. I probably won't be using the Patriot in my decks too much. Maybe if I'm running a support deck, which I don't really do very often. But otherwise I'd just take the PIP-3 anti-air unit, because they seem to be just as good and they take a little less supplies than the Patriot, and you get more of them, which is also an important factor. Because if the Patriot is your main AA unit for aircraft and you lose one of these, then basically your entire AA, except for anti-helicopter force, is decimated. So keep that in mind. It takes up a lot of supplies. It's decently fast, 65 off-road, 150 on-road, carries 4 missiles, 70% accurately, supposedly, but I think 60% is more like it. 9 HE power, which means it will take 2 shots to down any plane, which is basically the same as most heavy AA units we have in the game. So let me know what you think of this unit. Is it any good? Are you going to be using it? Would you recommend using it? Why? Why not? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching.